Jai Baba.
Super. Jai Baba. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. I just started recording. We can start with the seven realities. And today we end with Hari Paramatma in the end, and then we just abruptly just sign off at the end of that. Okay. Just reminder to all. Chaliye. So Ashok ji, seven realities, and then we get into reading.
Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai.
Avatar Meher Baba
The,
ki Jai.
the seven realities: existence, love, sacrifice, renunciation, knowledge, control, and surrender. I give no importance to creed, dogma, caste, or the performance of religious ceremonies and rites, but to the understanding of the following. The only real existence is that of the one and only God, who is the self in every finite self. The only real love is the love for this infinity God, which arouses an intense longing to see, know, and become one with its truth, God. The only real sacrifice is that in which, in pursuance of this love, all things, body, mind, position, welfare, even life itself, are sacrificed. The only real renunciation is that which abandons, even in the midst of worldly duties, all selfish thoughts and desires. The only real knowledge is the knowledge that God is the inner dweller in good people and in so called bad, in saint and in so called sinner. This knowledge requires you to help all equally as circumstances demand, without expectation of reward, when compelled to take part in a dispute, to act without the slightest trace of enmity or hatred, try to make others happy with brotherly or sisterly feeling for each one, and to harm no one in thought, word, or deed, not even those who harm you. The only real control is the discipline of the senses to abstain from indulgence in low desires, which alone ensures absolute purity of character. The only real surrender is that in which poise is undisturbed by any adverse circumstance, and the individual, amidst every kind of hardship, is resigned with perfect calm to the will of God, given by Meher Baba in 1952. I just wanted to read one thought which is there in the calendar of 2022. Distance between a drop here and a drop there in the ocean makes no difference to each drop's relation to the ocean. The Everything and Nothing, page 59. Jai Baba.
You have to show us the calendar now.
Oh, okay. I'll just one sec. I'll try. One sec. Yeah, I'll try. One second. Huh? I'll just. I'll have to. Yeah.
So this is Rick Chapman, by the way. Um, what um, what was shared yesterday on the group. This is Rick Chapman, and my little Rick Chapman story is interesting. I'm trying to find that book. Were you reading this book, Sanjay, in Introduction to Reality, or?
No, no, no.
Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Yeah. So you were reading Meeting God. That's the Baba book.
No, no, no. There was
One more.
not
Okay.
not even this.
Okay. Okay. So I'll tell you what happened with Rick Chapman and the story with me. So I was as you all remember, I accidentally went to Mehrabad more and it was very sudden. So I read the book Sounds of Silence literally with a gun to my head. 2 days before I left to Mehrabad because I had to get some context. So I read the book, and my brother, who was alive back then, he has a gift. He has a gift of being of timing, of superb timing on anything, and he has a elephantine memory. So we've given away most of it now because most of it was his collection of books. We had thousands of books, right? So as I was reading Sounds of Silence, he comes up to me and gives me this book and says, you should read this book because there's in one of the chapters there's a reference to Meher Baba, right? And this book is not a Baba book. It's a very neutral book. He's talking about how to choose a guru. One of the chapters is
Yeah, I've
dedicated.
heard of this book. Yeah.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
of the chapters is dedicated to Meher Baba. So I read that one chapter. In fact, I took this book, both these books to Mehrabad on that trip. So I took both. I read the chapter on Meher Baba first. Very normal. It just conveys a biographical account, and then there's chapters about everybody, Ramana Maharishi, all the masters around that time and before, and mostly Indian, though there were some non-Indian as well. So I think this was a book that was written before he came to Baba. But yesterday's account, the during the Mandali Hall talks, is something that I have heard. I mean, I don't think I've heard Rick Chapman on YouTube, so it was a very good experience and a good reminder of my little Rick Chapman story. So my brother's famous for fishing out books, and maybe Mama will remember this. He will fish out books for the person perfectly as appropriate for the time and what he wants, and he usually gives them away, right? So he'll just pick up a book and say, yeah, this is for you, as the person's leaving. And I don't know, Kaba, whether you got a book. You met my brother, right? Kama silent today. Anyway, so let's continue
Karthik,
from.
how do I show that? Is it?
Oh, there it is. We can see it. Wait, let me
You are
bring it
already
up.
showing that.
Oh, you can see
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Sorry. I can't see it on the.
Don't
screen.
rotate the mobile. It is, yeah, now it is okay. Yeah.
Okay. So
And
this is
go
really,
back, we can see the full picture.
this is really.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah. Now we can
something.
read. Yes.
This is a calendar of.
Yeah, this is the Bombay calendar.
This is Bombay, or I don't know. I got it from Mera Books, and
Yeah. So
and it's so nice because it was. I just took it out because it was up to February. It's got every page has got the Baba events. Like March has got where what all he did. Like January has got the Amar Tithi. It's really for people who want to follow what Baba has done, and then you can correlate with the text, the discourses, the uh, God speaks, and with Listen Humanity and the Sevas. So even the Sevas is mentioned here, and so it's really. I mean, I really got. So I just thought I'll share with the group.
Nice,
It's
thank you.
so
How
this
can
is
we
this
get
is
this?
an annual exercise that is done. And in fact, I got a love gift from one of the people that's new to Baba, who met me the first time in Mehrabad, and he then gifted a calendar, and it was so appropriate because I was thinking that I need something for Dubai, and I actually have it in my bedroom. This same
oh,
calendar for
yeah,
23-24.
wow! I have to get the because this ends in March 23. So yesterday it struck me that I should share with the group.
Nice,
It's called
thank you.
yeah. That's all.
I wanted you to share to make sure that if it's something new, we all need to know about it. This, I think, most people have seen,
Okay,
uh,
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
and it's an
I've
annual
been getting
exercise.
it for 7-8 years now, actually.
Correct.
And earlier it used to be published in US. Now it is being done here.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Jai Baba.
Yeah. I'm still on the path. So
So around November to
Ahead
December,
of us.
you'll see.
Ahead of
Yeah,
us.
yeah. So around November, December, you will see announcements on the groups asking for pre-bookings. You can
Oh.
pre-book and then it's given to you. I mean, you will get it well before Jan, right? That's the typical thing.
Right, right. Rakesh Acharya normally sends it
Rakesh
to
Acharya.
me, and then
Exactly.
I send him the money through bank transfer. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I have
Rakesh
used
is
it
the
to send
anchor.
it to my mother and friends and all that. Yeah.
Correct.
You have to
He
order.
directly sends it. Yeah,
You
yeah. You
also
can tell him I need 5. Then he send him the addresses. Suppose you want to gift it to others also. Then then he'll send you how much money does it cost and courier charges and everything. You just pay him. That's all. Yeah.
so this is done by the Bombay Center or by MPR.
I have been doing through Rakesh Acharya. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Okay.
So Rakesh is the anchor for this activity.
Yeah.
I will send you his number.
Okay, thank you, Jay Baba.
Yeah.
Maybe
Jai
Baba
Baba.
has prompted me to, I mean, to get his number.
मार्च हो या अप्रैल कैलेंडर तो बनता ही है. Chaliye, so let's get started. I will probably read a couple of questions, or we'll make it one question per person, and then we get to path of love as well today, right? Avtar Meher Baba ki jai. We finished at 51. We start with 52. What, in his opinion, is the characteristic mental attitude of the West? The West looks at life from the standpoint of reason and logic and is skeptical about things which baffle the intellect. This trend of thought has brought about some great achievements, political ideals, and a conception of social responsibility, mathematics, and science. It has also led her towards materialism, which has brought about wars, political, and economic crisis. Organized efforts such as a League of Nations, world conferences, and peace pacts are made in the hope of solving the world problems which face all nations today. But all such efforts have only a very partial success on account of the prevailing materialism, and because these efforts ignore the spiritual character and potentialities of man. Yep. So, quick pause on the West. So, the West is made she, it has led her. So, he associates the feminine gender maybe to both West and East, but then I found that unusual. But I think he has said similar things in many places about the West, apart from scientific progress, which and material progress, which they are way ahead. Yeah. So let's go around. 53, Mamaji.
53. What is his opinion concerning money? It entirely depends upon the way in which we use our money, whether it is good or bad. Money earned and utilized as a means of livelihood for oneself and for those who depend on one is good. Given as charity for benefit of humanity is better, but to give anonymously and yet carefully for the intelligent service and spiritual upliftment of humanity without dictating as to how it shall be administered or spent. This is the best use of money. But very few selfless souls can do that. Yes, but given anonymously and yet carefully for the intelligent service and spiritual upliftment of humanity, without dictating as to how it shall be administered or spent. This is the best use of money. But very, very few selfless souls can do that. When money gained by fair means or foul is spent in order to gratify one's desire for pleasure and enjoyment, it makes the spender pleasure-loving and selfish. And if the same person suddenly loses that money, he naturally feels miserable and curses life and fate. Worse still is it when he wastes money earned or inherited in speculation and gambling or on wine and women. Whether it is good or bad for us to possess money depends entirely on the use we make of it. Fire can serve and warm man. Fire can burn and destroy man. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the end.
Yeah, yeah. Lot
Beautiful.
of questions. Lot of questions on this.
Go ahead.
Uh, 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 I always get to do things, you know. It says the best use of money is in the spiritual upliftment. So what can we do about it? Any suggestions?
So I think you have to
okay.
identify the best source that can do uh, upliftment of, I mean, spiritual upliftment of humanity and intelligent service, or directly indulge in it. That's my takeaway. So if you are not sure of being able to identify such a target for putting your money to use, directly indulge in spiritual upliftment of humanity and intelligent service. So live a spiritual life, intelligent action, and use the money for others in intelligent action. Along with intelligent action is the best use of money. But what I like is this is what he defines money as, which is phenomenal. It's not, I mean, I am someone I know, I think Ashok knows this. I am someone who keeps trying to define money in the last 6 7 years in various other ways. And what a definition we just went through on what money is just a medium of exchange, but then this is the true nature of money. Sanjay, does that answer your question? Others, any reaction?
Yeah, partly it
Yeah.
is more on a high level answer actually. But suppose
Hmm.
I fund somebody to travel to Mehrabad.
Yeah.
I gift a book to somebody, which is a Baba book or any other spiritual book. Uh, what it could be, just these two things come to my mind. Or donate money to a Baba center anonymously through bank transfer. Don't talk to anybody, just transfer the money. Give
So,
money to the trust. Is that the money spent on spiritual purposes?
If
yes,
that,
Sanjay, if I may.
let's take each one as a different case, right? So the first
Yeah,
two cases, if there is no role for the ego, right?
correct,
I
correct.
sent that person. I had.
Yes,
I am
understood.
sending every year.
Correct.
If that angle is missing, I think that
Yes,
is intelligent action and service to humanity.
right.
But I would say it's not service, because more than service is literally, I think, helping where help is required. Whereas in many cases, taking somebody to Mehrabad may not be an affordability angle. It's more a gift of our what we have been exposed to angle, right? It's not that the person that you're sending is not able to afford it. You're sending them because you want them to experience what you have experienced, right? Third thing, the center, it's all down to what the center is going to do with that money. So if you choose a wrong center that's not aligned to Baba's ideals 100%, it's wasteful use of your money. What is intriguing in the last two reads, literally, I think it was the prior weekend we heard about something, right? Even the choice of the master that you submit to is an very, very careful and intelligent choice, and the onus is on you. If you make the wrong choice, though you think you're doing a good thing by doing spiritual work, hey, you made a wrong wrong master choice, and you pay the price for it. Your sanskaras are very badly impacted. So a lot is on the choice of where it goes. With that, I'll open, I request others to come.
Right, right. and the intent, as you rightly said, that I am doing it, and you announce others, I am doing this and all that.
Correct.
So
Ego.
it has to be just keep your mouth shut, maybe bloody mouth shut. Yeah.
Like,
So
I just
Regarding
want to add
the
something.
Ashok, then Mamaji. Go ahead.
maybe I just maybe forget about after doing it. You just forget that you have done it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Correct.
Beautiful. Sanjay ji, what I want to say is that you do it anonymously, and you just put a person's name in his ears without any reward or return. I mean, just do it selflessly. I mean, the chapter on selflessness, I think it's in Discourses or somewhere.
Ashokji, that is right. But we are here talking of money. I mean,
Money,
in general,
specifically.
spreading Baba's name is, yes, what you're saying
No,
is correct.
so
But
you
for
give,
money, how do we? Yeah.
yeah, if you give money, I think the best, what is in this paragraph is the best is to keep it anonymous and not brag about it. I think that is what will end the ego. Other, if you brag about it, then you're adding back to your uh,
That's correct. But I mean,
subscribe.
yes, but where do we give it? Give it to people, give it to trust, give it to center. I am looking for an actual to-do list.
So
So
I
that's
think
what I said. I mean, in general, yes, what all of us are saying is correct.
I
But
think
actionable points, yeah.
giving it to the trust, I think, is the best because they have a. I mean, that is the closest to uh, doing it diligently, doing it properly, and with proper accounting. So I think giving to the trust, and we have to trust that the trust will do and put it for good use.
No, I only would underline the last part, right? You cannot trust that the trust will do the right thing. It is the onus is on you to make sure that you do your due diligence. That is what Baba is saying when it comes to choices and intelligent action in spirituality. So you cannot resign to the fact that because I am spiritual, if I make an error, it's okay. No, it's not. It's your due del. You do your due del
Okay.
and own up to a wrong choice as well. So if at all you end up making a center choice which is sanskarically bad, well, own up for it. I mean, you're going to get hit. Is Baba's message, if I understand it
Correct.
correctly.
So then maybe the exercise you did with the Kashmiri boys directly. I mean, you took the permission of the trust, but you whatever you
Correct. That's a good example. That's a good
that's good.
example.
That's something
Correct, correct, correct.
We all
Good
came
example.
together.
Yeah.
We all came together with offers of money and service, and the intent was pure. Intent was well guided, coordinated. There is an excellent example of what we should do. Though it's not only money that was talked about in that. The money was the small aspect.
Correct,
I
correct.
like the energy, the vibes,
And
and the,
correct. And
yeah,
except for Kama, nobody knew them actually. Neither met
exactly,
them. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
and spreading the good word or the good messages or the word of Baba's Daman. So I think that was done selflessly, and I think, of course, I couldn't participate, but that's what example came to my mind.
Go down a bit.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba,
Yeah,
I want to make a comment out here. Can you go back to that green thing? That part. See, there are two parts here. One is the carefully for the intelligence service and spiritual upliftment of humanity. So, what we are seeing is one important part is the spiritual upliftment of humanity and then intelligence service. The second part is without dictating as to how it shall be administered or spent. So we have to find out certain examples how to interpret this statement. For me, what I get from here is on a macro basis, it is very important to make sure that wherever you are giving anonymously, that money is going to be utilized properly, like as Karthik was saying, with 100% due diligence, and you know that there is a track record, and they have a good reputation and so on and so forth. And whereas the second part, how it shall be administered or spent, this becomes a little bit tricky. Like even when we take the example of the trust, now there are certain things that people would like to do through the trust, but the trust says that no, these are the things you either give it to this or that. So it's a very subtle thing how one can try to discriminate out here. But what is definitely the takeaway here is the spiritual upliftment of humanity is an important part out here, more than the material side. Because I think that when I remember the discourses, two of the chapters, work for the spiritual freedom of humanity and the task for spiritual workers, Baba talks about that you can give food to the hungry, houses to the homeless, right? And food, shelter, clothing. But the highest form of service is spiritual upliftment. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
definitely that is something that has to be focused here. The best use of money, if it can be used for the spiritual upliftment of humanity, and that can have many kind of categories. I mean, that itself can be a seminar. What do we mean by that? What is intelligence service and what is spiritual upliftment of humanity? So, for example, let me tell you my experience with the Kashmir crowd. Okay, on a macro basis, it is a good thing. But when you are actually working inside, like I saw it on a day-to-day basis, what was going on, who are getting benefited, is it really giving a maximum impact? Okay. So the flaw that I saw was that the Kashmiri, the principal and the student, especially the principal, he was dictating certain things according to the way he wanted. Okay. So there was one challenge out there because I was not the main sponsor of this. This was the Hyderabad group. So there it was a little bit unintelligent from our side to allow them to dictate what they wanted. For example, the last minute they said like, oh, in Jammu we have to move, we have to so we had to raise that extra money, to pay for their lodging and boarding. So it was not very properly planned, number one. Number two is the choice of students that they brought here was not up to the mark. I'm sorry to say 80% was useless, frankly. Maybe 20%, they did okay. They might have sang and all that because that was part of the deal. It's a give and take. We are giving them, we are sponsoring them, so they had to do something. But I can tell you, it was not the right approach. So what we have decided later on, if you ever do it again, that you should select two boy students and two girl students, or one boy and one girl student from each school, and we should go through an interview process. We should ask the school to actually figure out like who are the right people that you think can participate, and let's interview them. And then it would have been much more effective, because I saw during those 7 days, half the time or 70% of the time, total disinterest. It was really, you felt, wow, like I'm spending so much time with these people, and really these people don't care, kind of thing. So I can go on and on, but I'm just giving an example that it's very important to have due diligence, discrimination, and especially even an activity like this, Kashmiri students need to be very properly planned and done in a better way. Jai Baba.
Yeah. The second part, Kama, as we were discussing, I think it means there are places. Leave aside Baba business. I mean, there are places where people donate money for a particular cause. ये मंदिर के ऊपर मैं छतरी लगवाऊंगा, मैं सोने की चादर चढ़ा दूंगा, and all that. And this meal of that day is sponsored by such a person. If you go to Harmandir Sahib in Amritsar, the whole wall is the tiles which are names of the people written, donated by this tiling done by such and such. So in Baba world, suppose somebody comes and I give you 1 crore to put a canopy on Baba. I think that is what Baba is discouraging to do in the second part. We
Yes,
just give it to the trust and let them decide the usage. Yeah.
That second part,
Yeah.
as you were telling now, it is the attachment of an ego part of you in the ways
Correct,
and means
correct,
of
correct. I have done it
spending.
for that cause.
You
Yeah.
are,
Mm.
you are directing, you are trying to say, put your footprint there. That is what Baba says it should never be done. So in essence, that is the
Right,
thing.
right.
But
Right.
maybe you can also have a choice for which it is to be spent. But beyond that, don't go and say meddle in a way where your name or your footprint is
Yes,
to be left
absolutely.
there and
Yeah.
things like that.
Jai Baba. Good
Uh,
discussion.
uh,
Don't micromanage,
yeah,
but
that's
do the doodle, do the doodle and make your selection correctly. But after the selection, don't micromanage. And of
Correct,
course,
correct.
no, don't expect credit and don't want your name and stuff like Sanjay said, right? Yeah. Yeah, Kama.
Yeah.
yeah. What I want to say is there are two kinds of categories out here. One is if you're going to give the trust money and you know that okay, you have done your due diligence and know that okay, they are going to use it, then you can't dictate to them what it can be used for. That is
Yeah.
one side. The other side is if you really think that, okay, any charitable organization is not going to do the way I think the money should be spent, then what one should do is one has to take complete ownership of whatever charitable activity one is doing from A to Z and then do it yourself. Correct? So I think right here, what we have to understand is you can't go to a charitable organization which is good and then tell them you got to do this as you rightly said, putting your footprint. But if you really want to do something that is you feel better than what they are doing, then you have to take ownership of the whole thing and do it independently without going through any organization. That's what I meant. Jay Babu.
Yeah, I just wanted to share uh, with the group that I don't think it's necessary to go only to Mehrabad. So you can donate clothes to the orphanage or take up a class in a school free. I'm saying, and just do it anonymously. It's not. Is it okay if we do it somewhere else where we are helping humanity for the needs they have, basic needs, and then suddenly also introduce them to some of the messages of power? I mean that could be one another way. Would that be okay without any
Yeah, yeah.
ego, without
Absolutely. Absolutely,
announcing?
Ashok ji. Messages of truth, we may call it. Because everybody may not be ready to accept Baba, but yes, few of them will hear. But definitely the right messages, what Baba has said, message of truth, if I may say so, should always be shared, and that is our responsibility, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, Baba.
One one last thing, one example I want to give you my own personal experience that when I go to these schools and colleges, that what I also do is for 80% of the time I talk about career planning and placement, how to plan your career in the material world. But I also try to inculcate the spiritual part. Whatever I've experienced and whatever Baba has talked about, I try to do that. So that is where I feel that part, the spiritual upliftment of humanity, is a very important component. Wherever one can try to inculcate that in their activity, that will have a lot of impact, I feel. Vaibhav.
Okay.
Uh, just not to be away from the topic, but a reference was made regarding the choice of a master.
Yeah.
So, are we able to make a choice? If we are making a choice, will it not be a judgmental from our side about a master? So, and also the third point is we are samskaric bound to do whatever action we are doing. So, I feel, in my particular opinion, that comments on different saints in a group, uh, we should be very careful because we cannot be judgmental at this level. Jai Baba.
Absolutely. What
Yeah.
I agree with all that you said, but to the three questions, whether we should make the identification or choice, I think Baba is very clear. You have to do your doodle. You're on the master and make the choice with application of mind, and be sure of what you're doing at a personal level. Again, I respect what you just said, which is we should not be talking of what you have figured and judged on a master to others. Third, you asked something else. I forget your third point. The third question that you had. But I think a certain amount of subjectivity and logical doodle is unavoidable, because otherwise you're see, again, personally speaking, on the group, on the people that are live on this call now, for us this doesn't matter. We are in the season of love. We have Baba. Okay.
Absolutely. I was about to say that this
Right.
looking for a master doesn't apply to Baba lovers. Maybe it
Exactly.
is for the posterity that message is, because
Exactly.
actually Baba has chosen us. It's not us actually.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. So
Jai
for
Baba.
us, this doesn't really apply. But I think the larger message for the rest, they have a lot of work to do. And my sympathies to them, sympathies, because the outcome of the doodle and the decision is very, very costly in a positive way or in a negative way. Because even if you choose the wrong master, bro, you'll pay a very big price. So that's what I mean. I've been very much thinking about this topic for the last 10-15 days, because I feel it also, in a sense, it's very unfair, because generally it's said that, okay, hey, I'm doing something spiritual, then it's better than 80% of the world, or right. So hence I do my best in picking a guru, but then there's a lot in picking a guru. Does that help, Mama?
Jai Baba,
Yes, yes.
let me try to extrapolate what both of you have said. First of all, the law of nature or the divine theme is the teacher comes when the student
And the
is ready.
student is ready.
Okay, number one. That means, for example, I'm talking my own experience. I did spiritual shopping. I had this yearning from a very early childhood that I needed to connect with a master. So I read everything under the sun. I was planning to become a Ramakrishna monk and blah, blah, blah. Now, interestingly, I stopped searching, and then Baba came to me through a medium. We all know that story, and it took a long time. Now, what I want to say here is, in discourses, Baba has clearly said that it is okay. Let's say a spiritual aspirant is looking for a master and he's sincere. So he's doing his spiritual shopping. So Baba said, yes, go ahead and do all the shopping, discrimination, everything. That's okay. You can question every master, no problem. But once you intuitively know, or you have the grace of a teacher or a master, once you have you have intuitively and mindfully and all those things, you have come, you have found your master, or the master has found you, then you just stick to it, which is where we all are actually. But before we came under Baba's umbrella, okay, Sanjay is very lucky because he's from a family that he has been, due to his past karma or whatever, that he didn't have to go through that shopping. But we are talking about people like me and Doc Mama and Karthik and so on, who had to go through their own process. And now we are completely convinced. The conviction is there. There is theoretical conviction and there is practical conviction. So that is one part. So I went through a theoretical conviction, or what I call as an intellectual conviction, from 97 to 2009 till I came to Baba Samadhi. It was an intellectual conviction I had of Baba, that I thought, yes, I had a connection. But the actuality, I was on the other side of the fence only after 2009. So that was my own experience. For some people, it happens just like that. That is all based on prarabdha karma and the grace of the Guru. But again, after coming under Baba's umbrella, after any spiritual aspirant comes under a perfect master, he still has to go through this process of theory and practice. So first you have to understand the teachings like what Baba says, love, obedience, surrender, sacrifice. And then it's up to us. This is where the real journey starts and the challenges start. So it is a huge challenge for, especially for those people who have not found the master, because you can't find the master because the master finds you. That is why there is a beautiful saying, don't look for the perfect master, be a perfect student. Don't look at the teacher, look at the teachings and keep striving for it. And then one day when you're ready, it will happen. Jai Baba.
Well summarized. Well summarized. Beautiful. And as you said, with examples or personal accounts. Okay. Ready to move ahead. Ashok ji, 54, if you're okay.
Yeah. 54. How does he explain good and evil, heaven and hell? In the general sense of the word, evil is merely perverted good, a lower stage of the ladder of evolution, an obstacle the overcoming of which enables man to test and strengthen his character. Looked at from the personal point of view, evil is the result of ignoring the law of karma and of indecision or weakness of the personal character. The master is beyond good and evil. Virtue or goodness is the antithesis of evil or sin in an individual character. Virtue then is due to the cooperation with the karmic law, and sin is due to cooperation. Virtue then is the due to cooperation with the karmic law, and sin is due to conscious or unconscious failure to cooperate with the karmic law. As separate words or as separate planes, heaven and hell do not exist. They are states of mental peace or torture. The person who lives accordance the law of karma experiences happiness and may be said to be in the heaven state, while the person who ignores and disobeys the law of karma suffers spiritually, mentally, and physically, and may be said to be undergoing the tortures of hell. The individual's possession of strength of mind or weakness of character, of the rudiments of virtue and vice, and the various experiences of heaven and hell are all due to the past impressions, sanskaras as they are termed, of previous lives. And every human being must pass through the dual aspects of both good and evil before attaining to perfection. The master is beyond good and evil. Removing past impressions by his love, he can truly say, thy sins be forgiven thee. See also question 4. So I just wanted to add, in the end, and all boils down to the master's stroke or Baba's grace.
Yeah. So I think there are two powerful things brought out here. One is the one aspect is the hell and heaven. The other is the operation or the true this good and evil being explained. And I think this is treated very beautifully in obviously in discourses, and it's a standout concept that Baba brings out, right? So how there is no morality to this. Many spiritual masters talk about this, but then he breaks it up in a beautiful way. So I think this is a very good para. Virtue or goodness is the antithesis of evil or sin in an individual character. Virtue then is due to cooperation with the karmic law. and sin is due to conscious or unconscious failure to cooperate with the karmic law. So I think this he has not said, I don't know if he has said this in Discourses Karma. So basically, when you are in harmony with what is the karmic law, you're actually operating at the level of good, at the level of virtue, which is closer somewhat now to the idea of the usual concept of morality, right? What is right is what is done with karmic law. And then you have what, when you're either consciously, and that's beautiful, either consciously or unconsciously failing to do that, then it goes to the other side of sin, right? But both are actually not having any true value. Go ahead, Mama.
Karthik, how do you define karmic law? What is karmic law?
What you sow is what you reap. The one of the 10 commandments. It's the Newton's third law of motion in the material world. It's very simple. Spiritual world. Look, let's be very clear. This is a bloody game. Okay. We all know, again, we don't have to emphasize, Baba was also a drop soul like us, who was the first soul to become God realized, became Avatar. Okay. Chairman Emeritus. So what is happening out here is that there is nothing like sin and all that, because we had to go through the animal kingdom. So the animal kingdom made us behave like an animal with lust, greed, and anger. So we call it evil or no virtue. And then once you became a human being, you started using your consciousness and the grace of the Guru, where you have to understand karmic law. Only human beings can understand the different laws, right? And of course, India, with a long civilization, 5,000, 10,000 years, we had figured out the internal spiritual journey. So, when you read the chapter on selfishness in Discourses, you start with selfishness because that comes from the animal kingdom. And then after you go through various experiences, you realize there is no point being selfish. So selflessness happens. As Baba said, both selfishness and selflessness are part in the domain of duality. You have to transcend that and go into selfness. And that can only happen with the grace of the Guru. And of course, our own, again, intelligent action or unintelligent action, right? So it is a process. So there is nobody to blame. Each one of us has to go through so-called heaven and hell experiences in different time periods, as we know, as a male or female. And then one day, by the grace of the Guru, we'll be able to liberate ourselves. So definitely from beams, we know those 4 laws. The most fundamental, the material laws, then the supernatural laws. Higher than that is the law of karma. But all these 3 laws come under the law of divine grace. So that is what I call existence. The law of existence, basically, then you come down to the 3 chapters, the lover and the beloved, Bhakti Yoga, purposelessness in infinite existence, Jnana Yoga, and forgive and forget. Who's there to forgive? Baba says, yourself, because there is no other. Everybody is your own self. So, what I have been doing is just to share with you guys. I mean, I wanted to read every day. It's not happening. That's part of my indiscipline. But I try to read the 7 awakenings every day as part of my prayer. And then I try to read the 3 essays that I talked about, Lover and the Beloved, Purposeless and Infinite Existence, because that to me really tells me the practical aspect of what we are supposed to do using Baba's messages. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, I just wanted to add that this chapter in Listen Humanity, the Path to Life and the Path, this chapter 1 is on page 106. They have given a real good understanding of heaven and hell, or heaven, and they say heaven, it's a heaven state or a hell state. They are not places. It's just a state which we have to pass through.
Yeah, even Discourses deals with this at length. And yes, they are not places. Yes, they are just experiences from what you go through in the past life, in the just past life.
Yeah, because I thought it was relevant, so
Yeah, perfect. Okay, cool. So 55, Sanjay ji, are you in a position to read?
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. How did evolution begin and work? The fish lives in the sea without being aware of the sea, as it has never left the sea. So, in the beginning, before evolution started, we were united with the source of all, but unconsciously. Evolution involved a separation from the source of all and a consequent longing to return to it through a succession of lives and forms. The conscious return of the source is possible only during physical incarnation, when consciousness becomes equilibrated in the gross matter. The conscious soul, the unconscious soul, through evolution, gradually gains consciousness by means of successive related forms. Go up.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful explanation of what this whole creation is all about. Why, I was asking this question all the time to myself. If you're already part of Paramatma, why is Atma need to go through all this? But this is a beautiful explanation in a very succinct way about evolution and what is our purpose to go from unconscious divinity to conscious divinity, which is what Baba says in discourses. Yeah, Baba.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Kama, why don't you read 56, please?
Okay. Does Sri Meher Baba deny matter? He denies nothing because for him, duality does not exist. To a God realized personality, matter and spirit seem both to be merged in the ocean of divinity. He sees the divine one playing simultaneously the different roles of the soul, spirit, mind, and body. The soul exists independently of nature and matter. The soul is infinite, everlasting, and pure. The spirit, though having the same divine essence as the soul, differs in that the spirit is attached. The spirit is attached to the matter, the body, the world, and the affairs of the world, but is unconscious of the infinite self. Until it is realized, the spirit has to reincarnate. The body is the medium through which the mind puts its desires, emotions, and thoughts into action on the physical plane. The mind is the medium by which the spirit's experiences of matter are expressed. The God man teaches us the truth that to realize the oneness of everything, we must realize that spirit and matter, or the spiritual life and material life, go hand in hand. When intellect and feeling, or head and heart, are equally developed and balanced, the apparent antithesis is resolved into the one divine consciousness.
Can I have a
Okay,
question here?
this, go ahead.
What is the difference between soul and spirit?
Yeah.
I think the spirit is basically consciousness.
Conscious.
Yes, basically the consciousness. See, we all have the Atma is this is the interesting paradox here, that we know Paramatma is super consciousness, God is Satchitananda, and so on. So when the Atma separates from the Paramatma as an individual soul, its consciousness is very rudimentary, right? And this is the interesting part, that as soon as it gets separated, even though latent in it, it is divine love. But as soon as the separation happens, as we know from the God Speaks creation theme, the first initial urge, most original whim, That most original whim is the rudimentary impression and consciousness happening at the same time. And then it has to go through this whole process. That is why I kept re-emphasizing that whenever we read the word soul, we should always interpret it as consciousness of the soul or the soul's consciousness. So now we have another word. We can say the soul's spirit. So the spirit is our own, ego, personality, self. You can say that probably, which goes through this whole process. But this is a very beautiful, I think, question and answer that
Amazing.
I also, yes, it is amazing. First time I've realized I've been trying to figure out what is the definition of spirit, because I thought soul and spirit were one. But now I understood that spirit is equivalent to consciousness.
The spirit, though having the same divine essence as the soul, differs in that it is attached to the matter, the body, the world, and the affairs of the world, but is unconscious of the infinite self. So, this is the nothing thinking that it is the everything.
Yes.
So again, for us, our framework for Baba is very clearly the nothing and the everything, right? If you look at the nature of this question itself and the nature of its answer, it is for the Western audience, the Plato and the philosopher audience of the world. This is less relevant to Vedantists and people from the background that we all are from. But then, if you look at the philosophers and their approach, it has always been about soul, spirit, and body and mind. And Baba is clinically answering that also beautifully. And I'm reminded again of infinite intelligence and the example of light. Natural light, unnatural light, natural darkness, unnatural darkness, right? And the concept of nothing and everything. So all these are, I think, more we listen and understand different books and references that Baba gives. It ingrains in our psyche as to what it is. But this was a beautiful question and answer. I totally agree.
The analogy I can think of is the baby that gets born
Yeah.
doesn't know what it is.
It-
So it plays like a baby, then it becomes a child and then a teenager, and he's identifying with his body. And then the teenager becomes, Rajat Gupta, McKinsey, or Sundar Pichai, or Apple, or whatever. And then, you are trying to understand, hey, what's going on? So I think a lot of people must have heard Steve Jobs' convocation address to the MBA students in Stanford, when he was explaining what is the reality of life, what do you need to do, because he was already suffering from cancer, at that time. So just an example that we are not the body, we are the spirit, and we need to get united back with the universal spirit or the universal self. That is the whole goal of creation, which I've been, I tried to, I'm going to compile that. But if you just put the search word goal in discourses and God speaks, you'll find different aspects or definitions of what the goal of creation is. And one of the goal of creation is to enjoy the bliss of the infinite bliss of the universal self. That is the goal. Yeah, Baba.
Jai Baba. So I'm going to read 57. What is Sri Meher Baba's opinion about marriage and celibacy? Every human relationship is based on love in one form or another and endures or dissolves as that love is eternal or temporal in character. Marriage, for example, is happy or unhappy, exalting or degrading, lasting or fleeting, according to the love which inspires and sustains it. Marriages based on sex attraction alone cannot endure. They lead inevitably to divorce or worse. Marriages, on the other hand, which are based on a mutual desire to serve and inspire, grow continually in richness and beauty, and are a benediction to all who know of them. Celibacy is good for progress in the spiritual path for those who cannot control their sex emotion. Contact with a perfect master helps one to gain that control, but as very few people have the very strong willpower to control themselves, marriage for most men and women is advisable. Indeed, it is much better to marry and devote your attention to one person than to remain a bachelor and, like a bee, pass from flower to flower in search of new experiences. Again, beautiful question, beautiful answer, dealt much more more fully and more elaborately in discourses, right? The 2 chapters. Yeah, okay.
Can you go up? Can you go up a little bit? That
Sure.
yeah, I think I don't know whether you no, not that next one. Yeah, the first line, celibacy is, what you read, Karthik, celibacy is good for progress in the spiritual path for those who cannot control their sex emotion.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So I should can control that sex emotion.
I think this must be something subliminal, man. Really, something came out like for all concerned. I didn't know why others didn't say anything. I was going to interrupt that. I said, let me wait.
No, I was about to say.
I want the Doc Mama to say, Doc, as a medical practitioner, what do you have to say about Karthik?
Interesting.
No, if you go up the last sentence of the first paragraph,
Uh-huh.
very good definition of marriage is there. Marriages are based on sex attraction alone cannot endure. After that, marriages, on the other hand, which are based on a mutual desire to serve and inspire, grow continually in richness and beauty, and are a benediction to all who know of them. So even if it is an accidental union, you can work on this to sustain the marriage and enjoy the beauty, richness of marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah.
it takes two to tango, like they say, because the most the chapter on reincarnation and karma, the significance of male and female incarnations, one of my favorite chapters, because it really explains what is the attraction between male and female. I won't go into it, but you guys should read that again. And it's very interesting because the soul doesn't have any gender. We have been both male and female in different lifetimes because the only goal is union with the universal self. So when you have a partner, because that partner is going to fulfill those qualities, in that chapter, Baba clearly says that men excel in the qualities of mind and will, and women excel in the qualities of the heart. But mind and heart have to balance each other. And also, the second one, he says that when the soul is born in a male body, only the male psychological tendencies come into the conscious mind of the male. And similarly, for the female psychological tendencies come into the female part. But for the soul to feel complete, it needs both male and female psychological tendencies in the conscious mind. Hence the attraction between a man and woman. And that is like an amazing psychiatrist solution for all the problems that we see between spouses, that ultimately the goal of even marriage or partnership or companionship or live-in relationship is that you have to have a spiritual journey together. And that is where I envy people where both the spouses are Baba lovers and are able to look at that. Maybe Sanjay will have something to say about it, Jay Baba or Sunil.
Yeah, yeah, but ultimately you get your spouse which is best suited for your journey. However, you may try. But knowing that fully well, we have to work on this and make the relationship beautiful. That's all I would say. Marriages are made in heaven, as they
So
say.
you have
Yeah.
to be, yes, yes. So you have to be lucky that you find the spouse
Yeah.
who is compatible
Right.
to you in this journey.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yes. That's, and whatever you get, you have to know that's the best that is for my journey.
So we
Right.
can use you
So
as a case study.
Yeah. I mean, in general, I'm saying, whatever you get is based on your own karmas, right?
Yeah,
Your
there's no
own
luck.
karmic
There's no
sanskaras
luck.
on the journey is
Absolutely.
luck. I
Absolutely.
mean, yeah,
Absolutely.
in that
Yes.
way, yeah. Jai
Yeah.
Baba.
Luck in that sense is basically the luck of the draw of what the application of the karmic law, right? So yeah, there's no escape. Yeah, but you're so right. Like Sanjay said, it's linked to what you deserve or what you are best suited for, or the spouse. Yeah, and it's also
I
the
think,
relationship that
sorry, go ahead.
gives you the maximum opportunity for intelligent action, because it's the closest relationship and it's the relationship that helps you become a better person, because whatever you do with either acts of commission, omission, conscious, unconscious, are all adding to your sanskaras, and that opportunity doesn't come with others in other relationships, right? So spouse relationship is in that way special. Kama, you're saying something?
Yeah, I think what to extrapolate what you're saying, it becomes a very synergistic relationship when both partners are in the spiritual journey. The only question is sometimes what happens, both partners are following different masters. So, in fact, in this forum, each one of us have different, what I call experiences in terms of companionship or partnership. I don't want to go into that, but we understand that when we look at each one of our own lives, that our partner or ex-partners or whatever, we have this permutation combination. So definitely, if one is very fortunate if you have a partner who is also following the same master, and there is a synergistic relationship because you help each other in the journey. So I think being with Baba was, I mean, like I'm not talking about Rama, no Sita Rama, Radha Krishna. Even in the spiritual partnership, Ramakrishna had Sharadama. Of course, there are rare instances like Ramana Maharishi, who was single. So it goes both ways. I think 80% probably um, being a householder is very good for most people who are in the spiritual journey and having both partners following the same master. Jai Baba.
That's the best luck of the draw. I mean, the best draw
Yes.
of the luck, but then, yeah, it could
Yes.
be various combinations.
It's a good lottery.
Yeah, it's a good lottery to have. Yes. I
So,
think
Jai Baba,
It's also about timing, when it happens. I mean, many couples are together. I mean, I can name even Momita was saying that in the many years of even after marriage, she was not actually, from the heart of heart drawn, But there was a time which came, that just a bang from Baba came and she just fell off, and now she's like, flying high into Baba's love. So, so
yeah.
is her journey, is Sunil's journey, husband journey, the person, the spouses, they are also individual journeys they have. So is Baba's blessing or whatever timing or karmic sanskara, whatever you may call it. But that's
Sanjay
there.
ji, I
Yeah.
wanted to add that it is probably pre-scripted, your past karmic connection, and that's how you get into a relationship or marriage. And so it's all pre-scripted and, of course, based on your karmas. Just
Yes.
for
Yes.
those who want to revisit, I think I wanted to just share that there are probably
Yeah.
3 chapters, Karthik, if I may just say. The problem of sex, the sanctification of married life, and love. I think they are relevant to this part which we discussed. And of course,
absolutely. Love is a lot more broader, I think, if I remember the
I think
discourses
I was just
chapter on
bringing
love.
going to
But
the
yeah, you can link all the three, but yes, very, very relevant. And as I said, more and more people should understand this in their youth, and then life becomes a lot more easier.
I don't know why I took up love also, because love has got subtopics like love in the animal world, love is in an
Correct,
in
correct. Absolutely. Then it comes I mean, from the base love to divine love, the whole thing is covered there.
the lower forms of love to
Correct.
respect. And I think probably Kama or somebody else has said that, you know, you move from lust to love. So I think
Yeah.
that is very, it's very profound, and you have to understand the differences between lust and love. Jai
Yeah,
Baba.
yeah. Jai Baba. So on that note, why don't you read the last question, Shok?
Oh,
58.
okay. What are sanskaras? The veil of darkness that covers one's inner vision and obstacles to illumination are certain mental impressions of actions, desires, and tendencies bound up with our egoism. In the East, they are called sanskaras. Some of these impressions were formed during countless past lives, others may have been formed during this present life. These tendencies and desires create two illusions. First, of a separate self at war with our own higher self, and the second, of being isolated from other selves. Evolution, or the fall into matter, involved the creation of this lower self. But without the physical body, realization could never be consciously attained. See also question 25.
So I think the action of sanskaras is at two levels. This is worthy of noting here. So one is it creates two illusions. One, the first one, that you are different from biggest self, and the second is you're also different from others around you. Both are fallacies, both are illusory, right? But these are the two illusions that impressions create, and then you continue in that journey. Beautiful.
Yes, this particular full answer, it's in beauty in brevity. Everything is
Simplicity.
everything is brought into of different perspectives are brought into a small single paragraph to explain so many things. Veil of darkness that covers one's inner vision, and the obstacles of and the obstacles to illumination are certain mental impressions of actions, desires, and tendencies bound up with our egoism. So he is attached to egoism, also is attached there. In the East, normally we stop at these actions, desires, and tendencies. We don't take into consideration this egoism. We feel that it is a separate entity, but it is part of the
Link.
sanskaric whole evolution. In the East, they call it sanskara. Some of these impressions were formed during countless past lives. Others may have been formed during this present life. That is also another definition. So,
Prarabdha and
natural and
Purushartha.
unnatural.
Correct.
These tendencies and desires create two illusions. The first is a separate self at war with our own higher self, and the second of being isolated from other self. I think isolated from other selves may be a evolutionary part of it, and the tendency of not identifying ourselves with the higher self, that is the spiritual uh, path, happens only in the human birth, human uh, repeated generations or repeated birth and death. Evolution evolution or fall into matter involved the creation of this lower self. But without the physical body, realization could never be consciously attained. So this is the answer for why that first question. Evolution or fall into matter involved the creation of the lower self. So we had to fall into matter to answer that initial question. And this fall gave all the problems. But without the physical body, we have to understand that without the physical body, realization could never be consciously attained. So this is the whole gamut of what Baba has presented in for the new awakening, put in 3 small paragraphs. Jai Baba.
Beautiful. I agree. It's very, very, it's a master class in brevity. So in Vedantic terms, I think I was just thinking about it. What is the closest word to sanskara? Is vasanas a good fit?
Yes, vasanas. Yes.
That's a good fit.
No,
Right?
Vasana is only lust. It's only a lust.
No. Vasanas, I'm saying in the Vedantic sense.
Tendencies.
It's
Vasanas
tendencies.
can be tendencies. So tendencies depend on what all you have done earlier.
Correct. I think
what
so. That's
you craved for, what you did not get, or what you got and enjoyed out of that, and all that tendency.
correct. But anyway, that's as Kama puts it, the biggest word that Baba has given to the world is sanskara. Let's not forget. It is what is going to be talked about into the future. On that note, we actually wrap up.
They also call it karma. Karma, you say?
No, it's beyond karma, right? So
it's beyond karma, but
it's
generally,
broader than karma.
yeah,
so
good karma, bad karma.
So Vedanta stops it at karma, and sanskaras are referred by Buddha, but then Baba has brought it right to the front and center of his darshana, the concept of sanskaras, which don't find it is a Sanskrit word. It is a Sanskrit word. It is used very rarely in Vedanta. It is used by Buddha, but Baba has made it the mainstay, right? Yeah.
Correct.
So,
Jai Baba, I think that that part which talks about the ego. So we have to understand out here that ego is not a bad thing because it is part of the process. It is what has happened is through evolution, especially in the animal kingdom, the ego has developed very actively. And ego is because of sanskaras. We know the mind ego is because of sanskaric impressions. And the soul consciousness needs to have a material body to experience these impressions and keep increasing its consciousness and take the human form. And in the human form, we have this baggage of sanskaras that we have collected, what we call as winding sanskaras. Now, so it is very linear. So up till the animal stage, there is only winding sanskaras, only one variable. But once you become a human being, then you have initially you're reacting, so you're spending sanskaras, and then slowly you start doing unwinding sanskaras. So it is this whole process. The gross sanskaras become subtle sanskaras, and subtle sanskaras have to become mental sanskaras if you are going through the planes. Hopefully, we all go through veiled. And so the point here is that there is no need to feel bad about the ego if you understand it well, that the ego is needed for material life. Of course, in today's civilization, you need to have an ego. But as long as you're aware of the role that the ego plays and not get attached to it, then you're fine. It's like simply like you can be a very rich guy and live in a penthouse and have a BMW and all that, but you're not attached to it. You know, you can live like King Janaka. So the ego as such is scaffolding, you can say, which we have to remove, but it's needed for evolution. That is the point out here. Jai Baba.
Yes, ego is a driving force. So this driving can lead you to a destination or dash you against something. Both it can do. So we will have to
Right.
intelligently use it.
And
Provisional
Baba has
working
talked
ego.
about the
Yeah.
Exactly.
yes. And
Provisional
Baba has
working ego.
talked about the divine ego. The divine ego is the ultimate thing. So yes, the provisional working ego is one of the ways to transcend this self-interest and all that. To transcend duality, basically. Yeah. Jai Baba.
So the analogy I think of for ego is when you're walking, when you're climbing, each step of the climb, you need a point of reference, right? That is a lower left leg, lower right leg higher, and then you get the altitude. Next time you move the left leg a little higher, then you move the right leg higher. All of this is possible through a concept in physics of locus, right? You need a locus. You need a point of reference. So ego is that important, unavoidable point of reference. You need a locus. For even the evolutionary journey, for the spiritual journey, there is a locus, and that locus is ego. Because otherwise, who is that? Who is that is thinking? Who is that is going through this journey? Right? So, yeah. Very interesting read again. I think gem of a book. This gets the same kind of classification, almost like beams, I would say, at that level for the choice of questions, the way they are treated. It's just very, very heartwarming, confirming. I mean, confirming our learnings elsewhere and representing stuff in a very, very succinct manner. So I loved this short but enjoyable read. And I think more importantly, I loved the discussions around it, which were very lively, and it helps to have a old group which has been through quite a bit, because we are able to connect and make references apart from pull each other's legs as well, like it happened today. But I think it was overall beautiful. So with that, I will stop recording, and we do Path of Love next week.